the man was illiterate, and then he became literate. In recent times, he has even become illiterate. Justice Salim Masouf thus highlights, in a nutshell, the technological evolution of mankind which took place within a noticeably short time period. In terms of technology, today we witness a world which is entirely different from the world that our parents or even our elder siblings saw when they were in our age. And one of the key areas in which you could see this massive change is with regard to sale of digital goods. So a very good morning to all of you, ladies and gentlemen. So as you saw earlier, my topic for today's session is Beware if you are a digital consumer, Intangible Digital Goods and Consumer Protection in Sri Lanka. So first of all, before moving any further, I would like to start off by giving you a small introduction. And in that, I would be answering 3 questions. And the first question is, what exactly are digital goods? So in terms of e-commerce, which is a term that you often come across with, digital goods or rather e-goods are defined as goods that are stored, delivered and used in an electronic format. So which means like all the things that you use or access on your devices such as laptops, tablets and most importantly smartphones could be called as digital goods. And these include software such as operating software such as like Windows and application software like commonly referred to as apps, mobile apps, and system softwares and Microsoft Office tools like Word, Excel, PowerPoint, etc. and ebooks and movies, TV series and such other things that you download using your nighttime data, and the list goes on. So that's about the first question. And the second question is, what is the main difference between digital goods and ordinary goods? So ordinary goods are the ones that you normally buy in retail stores like supermarkets and all, and digital goods are the things that you buy in online stores such as Play Store, Apple Store, etc. So the main difference between these 2 categories of goods is that digital goods are in an intangible form, whereas ordinary goods such as biscuits and all those vegetables and fruits that you buy in normal like retail stores are in a physical or rather tangible existence, which means you can touch and feel them, whereas digital goods, even though you pay money and buy those goods, you can't like touch and feel them. There's no physical existence but something that you see in a computer. So that's the main difference between digital goods and ordinary goods. And my third question that I'm going to answer in my introduction is whether this area important to Sri Lanka. Because as we know, like people say that Sri Lanka is a country in the developing world. So because of that, it's not that technologically advanced, but the statistics prove otherwise. For example, in the year of 2015, Sri Lanka ranked number 1 with regard to e-commerce readiness in South Asia in Global Network Readiness Index. And believe me, this small island, even though it's a tiny little island on the in the Indian Ocean, has an ever-growing percentage of 30% internet subscribers out of the total population. So that's a large amount. So because of that, as you can see, Sri Lanka is at a significant position on the platform of digital consumerism. So with that settled, let's move on to research problem, methodology and objectives. So when it comes to ordinary goods, under the existing consumer rights regime in Sri Lanka, there are certain remedies available to consumers who purchase defective goods. For example, if it's a breach of a condition, you could repudiate the contract, and if it's a breach of a warranty, you could sue for damages, etc. So the research problem was, does this same protection afforded to ordinary goods in Sri Lanka extend to digital goods as well, due to the fact that they are in an intangible form? So the objectives, the primary objective was to find that out, and the way that it was approached, or this task was accomplished by using 2 methodologies, black letter approach and international comparative research methodology. So with that, let's move on to results and discussion. So the legislations that provide for consumer protection in Sri Lanka are Consumer Affairs Authority Act number 9 of 2003 and Sale of Goods Ordinance number 11 of 1895. You can see how old that the second legislation is. So we have to find out whether the provisions in these two legislations apply to digital goods as well. So in order to do that, what we need to do is we need to look at the relevant interpretation sections of these two statutes to see whether the definition given to goods include intangible digital goods as well. So first of all, with regard to Consumer Affairs Authority Act, the relevant interpretation section is section 75 and it interprets goods to mean any food, drink, pharmaceutical, fuel and any other merchandise. So as you can see, there is no direct reference to digital goods because it's not a food, drink, pharmaceutical, fuel, but they have given a separate phrase called any other merchandise. So when there is a phrase like that which could include other goods of similar nature, we use rules of interpretation to interpret this phrase. So here what we have to use is use term generis rule, and as per that this phrase should be interpreted along the line of specific classes referred to in the definition. So here those classes are foods, drinks, pharmaceutical and fuel, and as you can see all of which belong to the class of tangible goods. So because of that we could say that intangible goods are not included. The second one is Sale of Goods Ordinance. As I stressed earlier, this is a very old legislation and section 959 is the relevant interpretation section, and as per that goods, the term goods is interpreted as all movables except monies. The term includes growing crops and things attached to or forming part of the land which are agreed to be severed before sale or under the contract of sale. So as I said, this ordinance was enacted in the 19th century during the time Sri Lanka was a British colony, and at that time internet itself was also not invented. So as per the pervasive rule, we could argue that the intention of the parliament was not clearly to regulate digital goods under the purview of this act. So as you can see, it's evidence that with reference to aforementioned factors, consumer rights jurisdiction in Sri Lanka under those two legislations does not extend to intangible digital goods. So as a result, a digital customer is barred from his or her legal right to redress. So now, as we can see, considering the high rate of digitalization of the developing world, it's not long before that Sri Lankan market economy would be engulfed by digital goods. So rather than unexpecting the expected or ignoring the inevitable, what we need to do is we should amend the existing legislations to extend its jurisdiction to consumer rights as well. In doing so, it's always better to look at the parallel legislations in the countries of the digital world. So I chose two countries, New Zealand and the United Kingdom, and in New Zealand there are two acts, Consumer Guarantees Act number 91 of 1993 and Contract and Commercial Law Act number 5 of 2017. So with regard to the first act, the section 2 is the relevant interpretation section, and in that term goods is interpreted as it means personal property of every kind, and within bracket they specifically say whether tangible or intangible. And again it says under part 6, to avoid doubt, water and computer software. And under the Contract and Commercial Law Act number 5 of 2017, as per section 119, which is the interpretation section, goods include all kinds of movable personal property including animals and computer software. So as you can see, intangible goods are specifically referred to in those legislations in New Zealand. Now with regard to the United Kingdom, the relevant legislation is Consumer Rights Act of 2015, which is a very recently enacted act, and it could be seen that it's like very instructive to note that this law, this act, like unlike the New Zealand Act which regulates digital goods by merely interpreting it as a good in normal legislations, in Consumer Rights Act of the UK, they have a specific chapter which separately deals with digital goods. So section 229 is the interpretation section, and they interpret digital goods as digital content, and it means data which are produced and supplied in digital form. So as you can see, it's wide enough to cover anything like any digital good under the sun. And they have, under chapter 3, they have specifically given certain conditions and rights. So for example, satisfactory quality, fit for the purpose, match with the description, right to repair or replacement, right to price reduction, right to refund, right to claim compensation for any damage caused to the device or to any pre-existed digital content. So this is very interesting. Now when you download, when you download a digital good onto your mobile phone, if that digital good or other the software or anything causes any damage to the mobile device or to any other digital content, any other app or anything that was in the digital form that was on the mobile phone, then you can claim compensation for that as well. So I'll move on to conclusion and recommendation. So as you can see, existing legal regime of Sri Lanka under Consumer Affairs Authority Act and Sale of Goods Ordinance has become a toothless lion in protecting the consumer rights in the digital age. The lion is there because legislations are there, but the lion is toothless because the interpretation sections do not extend to digital goods. So it's recommended that the respective legislations referred to above have to be amended in order to extend their scope to intangible digital goods as well. In doing so, we can say that it's better to consider the laws in New Zealand and the UK, and I recommend the UK model because it's more up to date than the New Zealand one. So by doing so, we can provide a stronger, safer and doubt-free legal environment to digital consumers in Sri Lanka. So these are the references. There are some X cases and some articles. So I have my email address here. If you wish to contact me, you are more than welcome to it. And thank you very much for your kind and faithful attention. Have a nice day.